Action. Welcome to another episode of Paul's Old Ass Movie Classics. I'm here today with Drew Stewart, my partner in crime here for this series. And today we're going to be reviewing A Raisin in the Sun from 1961. You can watch this now on TUBI, although I believe it just left TUBI, to be honest, because I actually had to purchase it from Amazon in order to watch it. But I think I missed the little window. But
It'll be back around somewhere soon.
yeah. This movie is directed by Daniel Petrie. For, I guess, our age people, he also directed the movie Lassie and Cocoon, The Return. Those probably aren't his two highest films, but those are two films that you probably know him the most from. And then this is written by Lorraine Hansberry, and she's more of a playwright, so she doesn't really actually, this is like her only movie. And this stars Sidney Poitier, of course. And the premise of this film is the right one here? Okay. A substantial insurance payment can mean either financial salvation or personal ruin for a poor Black family. So, this IMDb rating, this rated an 8, which is a very high score. Box office, this basically broke even. Budget of 1.5, gross 1.3, which back then, because there's less marketing, that's a better turnout than like in today's movie worlds, because you're actually losing money with marketing. But so this one broke even though it's a highly critically acclaimed. So Drew, let's start off. What was your favorite thing about this movie?
I really like this movie. And you talked about how much it made at the box office. It isn't an enormous amount. It broke even, but I think given the time, 1961, and almost an exclusively Black cast,
Yeah.
it's I would like to say it probably did maybe even better than it might have. And so I think that the thing that I like the most, and there's a lot, but the thing I like most about this film, and we'll kind of allude to this because I think it'll have to do with our list, but as an adaptation of a play. And I think Lorraine Hansberry, you mentioned, this is one of her only movies, so she was a playwright. She died really young. I want to say almost after, like right after this movie came out.
Yeah.
And is the fact that this cast, I think almost to a person, is the original Broadway cast, and it shows.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, I mean, these people had done this performance 500 times already before they went to film this. They could have probably done it in their sleep, but not in like a lazy way, but like it's in their blood and you can see it. And we both chose the same background. Like
Yeah.
Sidney Poitier, when he's up on the table, like so much of this, obviously it's a small, it's a bottle film, like it's only in a couple of sets, very play-like. But these people breathe just the life and energy into the words that she put on the page because they had done it for so long on the stage and now they're doing it on the film. And their chemistry, what I couldn't take my eyes off of them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna kind of knock out a few things with this, as always, just because like when I watch these films, I immediately go into kind of like, what does this remind me of, and where do I think this is, just puts my headspace. And for me, I thought about Fences right away. Um, you have
Yep.
a lot of mirrors in this, because Fences, like you can tell, and it was well made, but you could tell right away that it's a play, because we're so used to, like, especially within films, jumping from scene to scene and going to like just being in the kind of a bigger universe. And obviously plays, you want to restrict that because that's just more money, more setups. Um, and that's not really what you're trying to do with a play. You're trying to tell a very intimate story, and so you don't move a lot. And so, like you're saying, a lot of this movie takes place in this kitchen or in the house. And so Fences was one of the first movies where I was like, and I didn't know this before I saw Fences. I just saw Fences because Denzel Washington was starring in it and
Yeah.
directing it. And I'm just like, man, this feels like this is probably from a play. And you can just feel again the coziness of it, the intimacy.
Yep.
Yeah, so a lot of my I definitely got that feeling when watching it. And Fences obviously was nominated for many awards. I think it won a couple of awards, but very highly critically acclaimed. And I think this movie just kind of like um in the heat of the night, this movie's got a lot of poignant subjects. I love that it's very deep, but gives kind of both sides of arguments and isn't just throwing up in your face of like this is what I'm trying to tell you. It does a very good job of making poignant arguments and conversation, and I think this movie, because of that, it holds up extremely well and is super relevant. So again, I told you I'm going to kind of knock out a lot of them because I think my whole statement just kind of it just I think
Covered most of it.
yeah,
Not
but
all of it.
yeah, I think it's a very important film. I think again, knowing that it's also made in the 60s in the height of, I believe, maybe not, I don't believe it, but it, racial relations are kind of at its peak at this time because the Civil Rights Act is just about to pass, and you're dealing with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and all the civil rights leaders, and we're about to enter this crux of the civil rights movement. So again, I think this is a super poignant film and super important. And so I think for us, if you want to educate yourself and you want to be considered somebody with that a free thinker, this is a type of film you need to watch because it was so important at its time but still holds a lot of relevancy for today. So uh Drew, what does this I mean, I know I already answered this one, but does this movie hold up? And you can even just go along into your contemporary comparison as well.
100% it holds up. You know, all there's almost not a theme in this film that isn't still relevant in one way, shape, or form. Like money, aspiration, dreams, conflicting dreams between the family members, what we should do with the money,
Yeah, that
what we
was so good.
what we think the daughter should do, the sister should do. She's struggling with two men. Like there's just so many things in this that I think just the family piece and the relationship piece and the piece about money and struggling to get by, and then as you just alluded to, well, is the absolute backdrop of the civil rights movement. We see the one white character, and I think he was also in the Broadway
Yeah.
performance too. And like he was amazing also. Like such a weird, like at first you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna love this guy. He's well, and then nope. Like
Yeah.
the most quiet, diabolical, evil person wrapped up in just this like grandfatherly, like he's gonna be such a nice, welcoming guy. Like that was written and played so well. Their reaction to him was amazing. And so absolutely holds up. I mean, we're still talking about you know nowadays, luckily we're really past de jure segregation. Like we don't really have legalized segregation anymore. There's
Right.
probably still some de facto segregation that happens in this country, but certainly less and less. But now it's gentrification, right? And
Yeah.
like who's moving into what neighborhoods, and is it reverse? And like so all of the themes of this, of class and race and marriage and family life and all of those things, it's perfect in this film and for its time, and stands up today, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Uh
oh, go ahead.
yeah, go to your contemporary comparison.
My contemporary comparison, sorry, I gotta flip over here. Um, this one was hard. I had a hard time I really like Fences. I thought that was a good one. I was also thinking about a little, not obviously none of these are exact like for likes, but Moonlight in a little bit. Like I felt so different themes and struggles, but like similar struggles. But for me, and this is not a like for like, but I was thinking of Boys in the Hood. Um, and I was
I like
thinking
that. Yeah, I
I,
like that. I like that. I like that.
and I was thinking of it because you see, it's two different families. There isn't really a strong matriarch, though Doughboy's mom is, she is who she is. But like Lawrence Fishburne's character is kind of this strong character for that family, for that neighborhood,
Yeah.
kind of like the mom is in this film. And then watching the struggle, like watching, Ice Cube's character in that Doughboy versus his brother. His brother's going to make it in football and he has all these big dreams, but of course he's the one that ends up and so just kind of the class struggle, the where they're living, the family struggle. For some reason, it's not perfect, but I had felt a lot of Boys in the Hood, like felt some relevancy there.
Yeah, that's a good one. And the other one, and to your point, this isn't apples to apples, but just dealing with similar themes in terms of different ideologies in a kind of hostile time period would be, even though it's a musical, but The Color Purple,
Hmm.
because it came out, and I see some similarities in that one and this one. Obviously, Color Purple, the new one, if you haven't seen that, definitely check it out. But because it's a musical, and I actually like it more than the original film, but it really kind of the same way this movie does, makes these tougher subjects matters a lot more applicable and easy to digest because it's not just thrown in your face. And again, they're giving you different perspective with different characters, and so it presents the arguments very, very well. So, yeah, I like that. Should this movie be remade today, and who should star? And let me tell you, while I was doing a little bit of research, this was actually remade in 2008. Can you guess who is the star of that remake? Do you know?
I saw that it was redone in 2008, but I didn't look at the cast because I kind of wanted to be fresh for like I
Yeah.
was in, who
Uh,
was it?
he probably would have made your who should star in it list, but P Diddy was the star, and Sine Lathan, I think that's how you
Oh,
pronounce her name.
man, P.
Uh,
Diddy. That was,
I think it was a TV movie.
right around his height, but yeah,
Yeah,
he's not the man that we once thought he was.
yeah.
Um, Interesting. Should it be remade? Absolutely. Like, it can be updated, but like I already mentioned, so many of the themes are relevant. Change the script around a little bit, maybe
I,
change
yeah,
change
I would
the
want to
insurance
see like,
change the insurance policy to some other kind of, you know, investment opportunity or whatever it may be.
yeah.
But I think it could absolutely be remade for all those reasons we've talked
I don't know.
about.
I still think the insurance part is kind of important because I think,
Yeah.
especially because a lot of people do, um, um, you know, go fund me and stuff like that. So I think on the other side, it could show kind of the other side of the argument where like, hey guys, because it used to be life insurance used to be more of a standardized practice in those time periods,
Yeah.
whereas now I think it's less standardized and a lot of people don't value it and how really it can change your family's fortunes. And so I used to work for an insurance company, so obviously you can see it's a little more passionate, but um, it goes to show you that it really can kind of change your fortunes if you do it properly. And so I think that's an important subject. So I wouldn't change that part of it because I think it holds up more important today. Like, stop doing GoFundMe, dude. Especially because with inflation and all that, like people are buying so much money, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Spend $30 a month on a $250,000 life insurance policy.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. But yes, I think it could easily be remade. I think it could be done great. Who could play Poitier? He is the business.
I
But
mean, I think it's too easy, but I think obviously Denzel could easily do this.
for
Um,
for me, I had Mahershala Ali.
oh yeah, for sure.
And I know I mentioned Moonlight, but to me that guy is I get similar Poitier vibes from him. He is so intense in however he.
Idris Elba would be a good one too.
Yeah, love Idris Elba. But yeah, for me it was Ali. I think he could do a great job. I think he has the range. I think he has the.
Actually, Denzel's too old for the role now that I think about it.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, he could dye his hair and he'd be fine. Because,
Yeah.
but
Now,
yeah,
but you need he's quote unquote 35 in the film. I don't know what Portier's actual age was when he did the film.
yeah,
Uh, but I mean, even Idris Elba was a little bit of the uh on the border. If I had to go like a younger, either a Michael B. Jordan or like a Jonathan Majors, although I know Jonathan Majors is kind of in hot water right now, but
yeah.
throw out that stuff.
I was
Jonathan.
thinking Michael B. Yeah, obviously, if we were going for like a black cast, for sure, those two. I was also and this is sad. This is a preposterous thing to say because he passed away, but Chadwick Boseman, I think,
Yeah,
would
of
be he
course.
would have been.
I almost said that, and then I'm like, oh wait, yeah,
I know, but with all due respect, like he's gone, but like I think he could have been perfect for this.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And then other aspect of it, and I'm not necessarily recommending this, so don't slay me here, but the other route you could take with this movie if you wanted to remake it but leave this intact is to do what a lot of other films are doing and change the um the social situation. So for instance, make it about an Asian family and them dealing with the same problem, because I know Asians deal with that. And then you can even add like you know Chinese US China relations to it, which are a hotbed topic. So if you were to do it today, I'd almost think that's a little bit more volatile.
Yeah,
Or if we're doing Arab family, Middle Eastern, if you go that route and then you do the underbelly, like you can make it like early 2000s, so it's like right after 9/11.
yeah,
You really add another dynamic to it. But because you're dealing with the same, and that's what I think about with some of these topics. It's not only sometimes precluded to one race, like other races deal with this. And even, I know this people don't think of it this way, but sometimes white people deal with this if they're in another neighborhood that they're the outcast, right? Where they're the minority. And because again,
sure. We see plenty of that type of thing in in plays and writing about Appalachia or the Ozarks and things like that.
yeah, for sure. So
No, yeah,
I think
I agree. It would be interesting to see it transposed across a different ethnic line. You mentioned like if it were to be Asian family, I was actually kind of thinking a little bit. I got a little bit for contemporary. I was a little bit thinking of Parasite,
mhm,
uh, in terms of just kind of a family struggling to figure out like how they can. So yeah, it's interesting you said that because I was actually kind of thinking about Parasite a little bit too.
yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, so ultimately I think audience, we both recommend it. Again, this is a very poignant film. Again, if you like Fences, and if you like, I'm trying to think of another like adapted play that's new. I mean, Streetcar Named Desire reminded me a lot of that as well.
Mhm.
But if you like those type of movies, again, more dialogue heavy, obviously zero action. If you're into those type of films, I'd highly recommend this. If you're an action junkie, this is probably not the movie for you. You got to really
Definitely.
appreciate dialogue. So,
I was gonna also say for the mom's character, I think Octavia Spencer could be great.
oh, for sure. Yeah, and the wife, like, I mean, Viola Davis.
Yeah.
Honestly, the Fences, you can literally just do it with run it back with the Fences cast,
Yeah.
and probably
Such a great cast.
yeah, for sure. Okay, so in honor of this film, because this is an adapted play made into a movie, we want to do our top five play adaptations turned into movies, and
And and I just want to add full disclosure because we discussed whether we wanted to do this or Sidney Poitier. No disrespect to the great Mr. Poitier, but I think we both know now we need to do a little bit more homework, see another couple films of his,
well,
because
that's why we watched this movie, was for that exact
yeah,
reason.
100%.
I've
So
only seen him in, actually, I said four there. I think it's only three, maybe.
yeah. So
Uh,
we'll have to do our homework and eventually do another one of his films and we can do a list for him because he's amazing.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right, we'll go 5-1. Drew, what is your number five?
So I threw it on here. I went back and forth. I put it on here because I watched it at a time in my life that was important, is the Kenneth Branagh Hamlet.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's a great film. It's an adaptation. He's amazing. Obviously, he does Shakespeare incredibly well. Um, I was just starting to appreciate Shakespeare a little bit more. I was in high school when it came out. I think like in the theaters, we took a field trip with my English class and went and watched it because we were watching Hamlet. Like I had just read Macbeth, I think the year before, and really liked Macbeth. So like I never thought I would be like a Shakespeare guy. And so I liked Macbeth, I liked Hamlet. I love that we went on this field trip. So like kind of all the things that went along with it, like getting to see what we were talking about in class. do something that like who goes to a movie for a field trip and stuff. And it's a great film. I mean, it's just really well done.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It spoiler alert, that made my list as well. Not number five, but it also made my list because I agree with you. Um, it was excellent. It was the first movie where I obviously had heard of Shakespeare. I think we read maybe a little bit of it, but didn't really understand Shakespeare a whole lot because I was younger. But that was the first film that actually kind of grabbed me, and I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of see what this Shakespeare guy is all about. So,
Yeah, for
uh,
sure.
my number five, and this is again like I had mentioned it earlier, but this is a film that really made me understand play adaptations turning into films, and it was Fences. I remember watching it again. I knew that it had big critical acclaim, and I went to go see it in theaters because uh, everybody was talking it up, and I saw it, and I'm like, wow, okay. Like I can see why this was highly, you know, um, highly thought about, and so I enjoyed it. I don't think it's because it's a play. I don't think it's like an amazing film, but I still think it's a good film, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I need to
Uh,
watch it again.
yeah. And then my number four is, I guess probably I would consider this the original, but a Streetcar Named Desire. I remember again seeing this when I was younger, and obviously has very memorable scenes, Stella, the whole nine. And to me, this is like the epitome of a play turned into a movie. So
Yeah.
that's number four.
That didn't make my list, even though I acknowledge that by many measures and by many people's opinions, it's maybe the best that's ever been turned in.
Yeah,
Just again, similar to like Hamlet was at the perfect time in my life.
yeah,
I watched that film when I was really young and it just didn't speak to me at the time. I would like to go back and watch it again. I think I will like it a ton more. It
yeah,
just I wasn't ready for it when I saw it and it didn't resonate, but I acknowledge that it is like maybe the best.
yeah, for sure.
For me, number four, it's a funny one. A Few Good Men. And I have it on here. Yeah, it's in play adaptation for a couple of reasons. One, I mean, obviously it's like easy to laugh at Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson, and there's like such like seminal lines in there, but it's got like a great cast. Tom Cruise is great. It's got JT Walsh as a bad guy. He's always a great bad guy.
Yeah.
It's got Kevin Pollak is hilarious in it. Nicholson is an amazing performer, and in part because I wanted to shout out the playwright, who's Aaron Sorkin, who has gone on to do
Oh yeah,
some of my favorite shows, and he's a genius. And so I also want an opportunity to shout him out.
yeah, for sure.
So
Uh,
number four, Few Good Men. So sorry, go ahead.
yeah, number three.
And then number three for me is a Hitchcock film, and Hitchcock had done this a couple of times. This is one of my favorite Hitchcock films, and it's one that I think probably a lot of people haven't seen. It's called Rope, and
I've seen it.
it it's a yeah it's you can tell it was originally a play. I mean, it basically the entire thing, similar to this movie we just watched, takes place in a living room where they invite this person over. This you see the bad thing happen at the very beginning, and then the suspense builds around the rest of the time. Like, are people going to notice it while they're in the same room? Jimmy Stewart, an actor that died pretty young, and was only in a couple of films. John Dahl is an electric factory in that.
Yeah.
And then Granger, who's in like Strangers on a Train. So it's a great movie.
Nice. My number three, we already talked about it, but that's where I put Hamlet. Again, like probably the first film I would say that I saw that was a play turned into a movie, and again, really well done. My number two is a classic, and it's known for its blocking, it's known for the camera angles and everything, and it's a classic taught in film school. And it's 12 Angry Men. And again, it's kind of very simple, one setting, but again, the conversation, the dialogue, the different points of view, it's considered a masterpiece when it comes to that. And if you really want to study film and study simplicity in execution, that's just one of the films to always have and watch. So that's my number two.
Um, Perfect. For me, my number two is this film. This is the first time I'd seen it, and I loved it. And I think it's so clearly adapted from a play.
Yeah.
Uh, I think I'm sure it was an amazing play, and I know it's a great movie. My number one is Casablanca. And based on like Everybody Comes to Rick's, an American play.
Yeah, so the play never got published.
Right.
Yeah.
But so I maybe a little creative license on that, but
No, no, no. It was on the list that I sent you, and
yeah,
I almost put it on my list, and I wanted to. I just didn't because it actually I wasn't aware of the play.
yeah,
That's the only reason why I didn't. But I totally accept your as number
yeah.
one.
And so for me, like there's not a lot to say. Casablanca is one of my favorite movies. It's one of the greatest
Yeah.
films of all time. So for me, that would be my number one adaptation.
Yeah, my number one is it's just because I've seen it the most out of all the movies that are on this list. But it's Annie, a little orphan Annie. And I've seen Annie maybe 1,462 times. Uh
Wow.
my brother and I watch it, Pete and I watch it all the time as kids. We knew all the songs, everything, and so I'm just going with good old fashioned metrics, and I put the most hours into this movie. So I have to award it the number one movie because no other movie I watched over and over again like this one. So, um,
It's
but I
all
still
good.
think I still think Annie, obviously I jest slightly, but even still as a movie, a lot of good subject matter, obviously good songs, famous songs. Um, and I thought the movie really, really did a good job of really elevating the play because I think I have seen the play at some point, not like in a high end production, but somewhere I've seen it, and it's just the movie does such a good job of expanding upon what the play was and the musical was, and so I think this is a really good film adaptation too. So that's my number one. And again, if I were to place it, it would be Casablanca. I really wanted that on my list, but I wanted to give a shout out to these other movies too because they're a
For
little.
sure. Yeah, I kind of took a cheap way out with Casablanca just because
No, not at all.
just because we've talked about it before.
Yeah,
But
sure. I mean, like I said, technically, I would say it is number one in terms of best film. But like I said, we've already highlighted in other areas. I actually we actually did reversal roles in this one. I wanted to honor some other films that we haven't talked about, and so
yeah.
awesome. Well, that's going to
Okay.
wrap it up for this episode, Drew. Thanks so much. Next week's film, we have The Third Man, which came out in 1949, and that stars Orson Welles. And you can find that on Tubi or Crackle. So you can watch that. There'll be ads for those of you that you can download the app on whether you have a Roku, Apple TV, or whatever. But it's you can watch it free is the whole point. So with that, Drew, thanks so much. That's going to wrap it up for us. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. And thanks for joining on this journey. And keep watching these old movies. We appreciate it.
Thanks everyone.
With that, that's a cut. Thanks, guys.